Hi guys, my name is Trinity. If you are here, you must be here to talk about books because that's why I'm here, to talk about some books. Now today, my allergies are driving me insane. I'm tired and I'm going to try and keep my normal amount of energy going for you. But I do want to let you know that my allergies are driving me crazy and I didn't sleep very much last night before we get into this. So today I have a book haul. This one's a little bit special because I have some self-pub that I have purchased. I'm really wanting to get more into self-pub, indie pub this year than what I have. Voice of War was one of my favorites of the year so far. And so I have a few that I need to read. And I do keep telling myself I'm going to read The Dark That Dwells, but then it gets intimidating to me and I don't read it. And I'm also going to be reading Woodcastle this month, but I have picked up a few more that I'm excited to read. I'm going to start out with the self-pub and then I will move into things that I got from like subscription boxes. I think only one of these did I pay full price for, like eager to get it, waiting for it, pre-ordered, and everything like that. I'm going to show you the self-pub / indie pub first. So when I was on Twitter the other day, I've been dying to read some gothic horror books, you know, just that's been my jam lately. That's what I want to read. I know I have to get through this readathon first, but that is what I've been after. And one of my friends recommended Penpal by Dathan Auerbach. And when this was mentioned, a lot of people were like, yeah, that's creepy. You should definitely read that. And so I'm super excited for it. In an attempt to make sense of his own mysterious and unsettling childhood memories, a man begins to reconstruct his past. As the games and adventures of his youth become engulfed by a larger story, he finds that it forms a tapestry of unbelievable horror that he never could have explained. Each chapter completes a different piece of the puzzle for both you and the narrator, and by the end of it all, you will wish that you could forget what he never knew. So, yeah, I've had quite a few people say that this is going to be a horror novel that might scare me, that I might enjoy, so looking forward to this. On that same note, An Altar on the Village Green by Nathan Hall. This is another one that was recommended to me in the horror realm that might scare me, and I'm looking forward to it as well. My faith called me to become a lance. My compassion drew me into one of the fallen lands. Through my connection with the chain god, I alone can find and destroy the horror that stains the land. So, yeah, this is the start of a series. However, I just want to get into more horror, and this sounds like it could be fantasy and horror blended together. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, if you guys follow Leslie, you will have seen these books quite a bit. And between Leslie and my friend Andrew, they have talked me into reading these little novellas called The Nightmare Lands or Nightmare Land. This is Nightfall by Daniel Barnett. These are super short. And I didn't know exactly how short they were going to be, but I'm kind of excited to pick up a novella that is in the horror realm and see how that works for me. But they've talked me into reading this. They've talked it up so much that I'm excited for it. I do wish that you could find like a set of these because they're so small. I really think I'm going to want the next one. But yeah, pumped for this one. All right. And one of my friends on Twitter, we became friends because he wanted me to review his book. And I had to say no, that I was in a backlog, and he's been super supportive of me though, like super supportive of this channel, of my Twitter. He is so sweet And so I bought his book, and that would be Paladin Unbound by Jeffrey Spite. I hope I said that right. But I've heard nothing but great things about this. I have heard that it does read a little bit on the younger side. It is adult, but I've heard that it's a fun adventure and you just kind of get sucked into the story. So I'm super excited for it. The last of a dying breed, a holy warrior must rise up against a growing darkness in Evelum. The most unlikely of heroes, a lowly itinerant mercenary, Umhra, the peacebreaker, is shunned by society for his mongrel half-orc blood. So, yes, we have a half-orc as our main character, and that is super, super cool. Okay, and I'm actually friends with this person too. They are on my Discord, but I'm a huge fan of Norse books. And when I saw everyone reading this, I was like, dang it, I need to read it myself. I really do. And the cover, I have been obsessed with this cover since I've seen it. And so I was very excited to pick up Cold from the North by D.W. Ross. And I just, look at the cover. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. But like I said, I am a fan of Norse books. I don't know much about this. I don't want to know much about this because it being Norse Viking related, I want to go in with a fresh thought on this book without having it tainted by what I know of Norse mythology, Viking books, and things like that. I just want to let this story take me away. Another that I have been in Discord with J.R. Traz the Rave. I have heard nothing but good things about this. I'm obsessed with this cover too. Ever since I saw this cover, I've been like, oh dang, I like that. But I purchased this, so Shelf Space, Shelf Published and was reading this and everyone was raving about it. The rave. And so I picked it up. I never got around to reading it though. You guys know that I like to do immersive reading and self-pub. You can't really find them at the library. Don't want to purchase them twice. So I have to find time to sit down and read them. And this one's a little bit of a chunker. So I am going to have to find time to sit down and read this one. This is probably the reason I haven't read The Dark That Dwells, because I can't find it at the library either. So I have to find time to sit down and actually read it. But I am very, very excited for this one. It sounds really cool. When Alina Kavich lost her parents, her grandfather Demas gave her a home and a purpose. At the school, he trained her to become an Elfavar, a hunter of arcane beasts, demons, and other anti-human entities. For 10 years, they built a life together. Then one night, in the middle of preparing dinner, Demas vanished. Now 17 and stuck with her grandfather's debts, Alina resorts to illegal raves in her rundown hometown. But these small-time contracts simply aren't enough. The school lies in disrepair, the power shut off, the bills remain insurmountable. In a last-ditch gamble, she signs up for a rave whose massive reward could rewrite her entire future. However, she is far from the only Alfavar to answer the call of such an alluring bounty. Out of options, Alina sinks the last of her money into a forged raver's license and a one-way ticket to New El, the floating capital. So let me just say, the print on the back of this book is a dyslexic person's nightmare, and I'm trying my best. There, an unnameable horror, her target, busies itself slaughtering the nobility in the dead of night, leaving no survivors and no witnesses, protected only by her wits and spells, Alina must find a way to save New Elle, her school, and herself. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Oh, there's a lot of glare. But the print totally messes with me. It has like that background effect, and it's super hard to read. Like, the book isn't written that way, but on the back of the cover, man, it was messing with me quite a bit. All right, another one that I stumbled across on Twitter as I was trying to fulfill that horror need in myself. Legacy of Bones by Kirk Dougal. This is a tale of Bone and Steel, book 1. So the cover itself is super cool, and I actually heard someone say, how did they get Ben Stiller to pose for the cover? But this one sounds super cool. 1,000 years ago, Emperor Abaddon and his generals swept into the Western kingdoms and unleashed death and destruction. But ruling the world could not be accomplished until they destroyed the Dragon Lord and his followers. The dragons in the eastern countries had other plans. Legendary beasts and men banded together to stop the war, meeting the usurpers in a final battle where the Emperor and the Dragon Lord were killed. The 5 surviving soldiers who fought beside the dragons became the Dreg de Alcair, a group of fighters with the legacy to protect the kingdoms by carrying the bones of the Dragon Lord as weapons against their enemies. Now a young woman has been found who could be powerful enough, Seijai, to help the Emperor be reborn. Only her 2 brothers, one a recently liberated apprentice with his own secret power and the other drunk, still trying to forget their father's death, stand in the way of the generals bringing Emperor Abaddon back to life. So it sounds pretty dang cool, and I'm excited for this one. Again, fantasy horror mixed together. Sounds super up my alley. All right, and then a Ma'al Crit book. We got A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. Love this cover. You can see the spider webs kind of in the background. This is a dark academia book, and so I'm super pumped for that. Look at those silver edges. It sounds like it's going to be really good. So we have dark academia and witchcraft tied together, which sounds great to me. This is young adult because Alcrate only does young adult, but I'm super, super pumped for this. And I'm really hoping that I get to it soon because this has the October fall vibes that I look for at this time of year. So very excited for this. Now for my book of the month picks, I got Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. You guys know that I am a sucker for a Greek retelling, and this is a Greek retelling. And then Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is a thriller, and again, I'm looking for some books that are speaking fall to me. So thrillers, gothic, horror, you know, that kind of atmosphere. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Something to amp up the tension. And I've been watching Ghost Adventures and Dead Files, like reruns, because that's what I'm just in the mood for lately. All right. The book that I had on pre-order, the book that I feel like I have been waiting forever to read, that all of my friends got e-arcs for, that I've decided ebooks are not for me. So, and an audio was never offered, but the one I have been waiting on is Among Thieves by M.J. Kuhn. This is one of those that I saw Thieves in the title and I wanted it. I really wanted it. And then a couple of my friends posted reviews for it and they were like, this is a badass character and you're gonna love her. And so a badass female character, there's thieves in the title. I don't need to know anything more, but I have been dying to read this because they got their arcs months and months ago and I've been waiting to get my hands on it. And so when this came, I was super, super excited. Also, as you guys know, I have an issue with American versions of J. Kristoff books. Like, why are the covers so bad? I can't stand them. I hate them. And currently, the book for me to get it from the UK would be about $70. And I'm just not interested in spending that much on a book. And unless it's like autographed and illustrated, I spent that much on my Name of the Wind book, but it's autographed and illustrated. So I have Empire of the Vampire on Audible. And I'm super, super pumped for Empire of the Vampire. As you guys know, it's one of my most anticipated reads of the year. So this is the last book that I have been just dying to read. We had The Shadow of the Gods, The Pariah, and now Empire of the Vampire. Those are the ones that I have just been eager to read. The fourth book in the Witchland series is also, I have it as well. I think I hauled it last time, but those are the ones that I've just been dying for. And so I did get Empire of the Vampire, but I got it on audio, so I can't actually access it until the 14th because that's when the audiobook releases. All right, and then I won a giveaway for Legacy of Light by Matthew Ward. These are some chonker books. Now, the first book in this series is Legacy of Ash, I believe. There's Legacy of Ash, Legacy of Steel, and Legacy of Light. And I haven't read them yet, but I have been wanting to read them. And so when there was a giveaway for one of them, I was like, yeah, sure. I want to read them anyway. So I'm excited. And I've heard very good things about this trilogy. I've also heard that it's fairly plot driven, so I will probably enjoy it. And it's grimdark. So we are speaking my language with that. So I'm very, very excited for it. Like I said, this is book 3 and I won it. So I have to get the other 2, but I now own this one. And the last 3 in this haul are books that I bought at the buy sell trade just kind of on a whim. I went in there to take some books back and just looked around for a little while, and so I only have 3. If you guys don't know, I also found Blackwing at the buy sell trade, and I was very excited about that because I haven't been able to find them in the US, and I actually own Blackwing now, which is one of my favorite series. So I picked up And I Darken by Kiersten White. I've heard a lot of people talk about Kiersten White. I've heard a lot of people talk about this book in particular. I've heard that it is brutal, and we have a princess who holds nothing back and is kind of a badass. And I've heard that she fits the bill of unlikable character, but in the form of a bitch. Instead of a whiny main character, we just have someone who doesn't give 2 flips about anybody else. And I'm excited to read this. So the next 2, I actually, when I asked for horror recommendations, these both were recommended to me. One of them is just a gritty, dark, grimdark novel, and the other one is a horror novel. But I want to give warning that I don't know if I'm going to get around to these in October or when, but I did want to go ahead and pick them up since they were at the buy sell trade. You guys know I use my trade credit making these books like $1, so I wanted to go ahead and pick them up while I could. R. Scott Baker, The Darkness That Comes Before, Prince of Nothing, Book 1. This was actually recommended to me as a book that might scare me. And I did not anticipate that because as far as I know, this is just a grimdark fantasy novel. But now that I know that, I'm a little intrigued, a little bit more. I know that this leans heavily on the philosophical. I'm okay with that. I usually go for more political than philosophical, but I'm intrigued. Now, I know that Brittany did not like this book, and there were reasons that she didn't like this book. I didn't watch the video where she gave a review for it because I kind of wanted to go into this myself, not knowing anything. And I love grimdark, so I want to kind of make my own judgment on this book. All right, and last is the book that is going to throw my dyslexic brain for a loop, and that would be House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. If you guys know anything about this book, you know that it is an insane mind trip, and that the font and all of that stuff is kind of just a little insane. And yeah, I plan to read like Illuminae, so I'm hoping that this doesn't like throw me for too much of a loop. But what I am going to do when I read this is I'm definitely going to sit down with an audio so I can do some immersive reading. But being dyslexic, I'm not going to be able to read this book without an audio. And so I know Murphy ended up DNFing it because it was too much for her. I'm hoping it's not going to be too much for me because I am intrigued by the way that this book is written. And I don't like writing off books for being a mixed media format. I still want to give them a try. And I think audio is just going to be the way that I'm going to have to go with books like that. All right, that is it for my video today. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.